For centuries, war followed rules. Knights rode into battle wrapped in steel. Castles stood as symbols of power, thick walls, high towers, untouchable. Kings ruled because no one could reach them. And then, everything broke. Not because of bravery, not because of honor, but because of a few inventions. Small, ugly, brutally effective. Weapons that didn't care who you were. Weapons that didn't care about bloodlines. Weapons that turned nobles into targets and peasants into executioners. One invention put a man on a horse and made him unstoppable. Another let a farmer kill a knight from across a field. Another punched holes through armor like it was paper. And one reduced centuries of stone walls to rubble. This isn't a story about heroes. This is the story of how medieval warfare died, how the age of knights ended, and how the modern world of war was born, not with glory, but with fear. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the medieval world didn't evolve. It was destroyed. Before castles, before knights, before coats of arms and noble bloodlines. War was chaotic. Infantry formations clashed. Spears broke. Lines collapsed. A man on a horse was dangerous, but unstable. Then came something small, something almost invisible. The stirrup. 2 loops of metal. That was all it took. For the first time, a rider could stand in the saddle, brace his body, transfer the full weight of horse and man into a single udar, a shock impact. A charging knight wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a weapon. Armor grew heavier, lances grew longer, and warfare reorganized itself around mounted elites. But the stirrup didn't just change battlefields, it reshaped society. Kings needed cavalry. Cavalry needed land. And land was exchanged for loyalty. This was the birth of feudalism. Power concentrated in the hands of those who could afford horses, armor, and training. The knight class ruled because no one could stop them. For centuries, the stirrup made the medieval world possible, and that world believed it was permanent. It wasn't. Knights believed themselves untouchable. Steel plates, chainmail, years of training, divine right. Then came the longbow. 6 feet of wood, strung with death. It didn't require nobility. It didn't require armor. It required strength and repetition. English peasants trained from childhood. Pull, hold, release. At Crécy, at Agincourt, knights charged as they always had, and were slaughtered. Arrows punched through visors, pierced joints, dropped horses screaming into the mud. Men who had trained for war their entire lives died before reaching their enemy. Not in duels, not face to face, but anonymously, from a distance. The longbow did something radical. It made skill matter more than status. Numbers matter more than bloodlines. For the first time, the lower classes could kill the elite efficiently. The medieval hierarchy cracked, not with rebellion, but with arrows. The longbow wounded honor, the crossbow murdered it. Unlike the longbow, the crossbow required little training. A man could learn to use it in days. Point, crank, release. The bolt didn't care who fired it. It could punch through armor at close range, drop a knight instantly. No strength, no skill, no lineage required. And that terrified the ruling class. So much so that in 1139, the Catholic Church tried to ban it, calling the crossbow immoral, unchristian, too deadly to be used against fellow believers. But bans mean nothing when fear enters the battlefield. Armies kept using it. Mercenaries favored it. Sieges depended on it. Because the crossbow did something unforgivable. It made killing easy. War was no longer a test of courage. It became mechanical. And once killing becomes simple, it becomes common. At first, gunpowder looked unimpressive. Crude bombs, clumsy cannons, smoke, noise, confusion. Knights laughed. Then castle walls started collapsing. Stone that had resisted centuries of siege warfare crumbled under cannon fire. Armor that once stopped arrows shattered under bullets. The rules were gone. Castles became death traps. Knights became obsolete. Nobility lost their military monopoly. Gunpowder didn't just change weapons. It centralized power. Only kings could afford cannons. Only states could supply gunpowder. War shifted from personal combat to logistics and industry. The medieval world had no answer, no adaptation, no counter. The Age of Knights ended, not with a final charge, but with smoke drifting over broken walls. And from that smoke, the modern world of war emerged. The medieval world didn't fall in a single battle. It collapsed piece by piece. First, the horse stopped being enough. Then armor failed. Honor followed. And finally, stone walls gave way. By the time the smoke cleared, knights were relics. Castles were coffins. And war no longer belonged to individuals. But what came next was worse. Because these weapons didn't just change how wars were fought, they changed who controlled them. In Part 2, kings would build armies that moved like machines. Soldiers would become replaceable. And killing would be measured, not in courage, but in numbers. This was only the beginning.
That's the end of this video. Would you like to see more of it? I hope so. Let me know in the comments.